But I think after watching this entire season, I think there are 5 teams that can win the Super Bowl. This morning, there are 5 teams that can win the Super Bowl. Buffalo, Kansas City, Seattle, the Saints, and Green Bay. They can win the Super Bowl. I think there's 9 teams that could win a playoff game. Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Indy, Rams, Chicago, Tennessee, Miami, Tampa Bay. But they've got inconsistency or a hole or a liability. I don't see them as multiple playoff winning teams. For the record, let's go back to the 5 teams that can win a Super Bowl. These are the happiest teams in the league. Because this morning in December, they have a chance to win a ring. The only other team of those 9 that I think is happy is Baltimore. Because they're playing well, they're mostly healthy. I think if they did win a playoff game, that would be a step for Lamar Jackson. Both sides of the ball, I think they're pretty buttoned up right now and playing really well. But 4 of the 5 teams that can win a Super Bowl will be miserable in a month because they won't get there. And oh, by the way, even if you're happy in this league, San Francisco last year, 1 incomplete pass in the fourth quarter, and you're miserable again. Kansas City has won 23 of 24 games. Inside the building, there's slight panic that they're playing really bad red zone defense and offensively leaving a lot of meat on the bone. 11 teams in the NFL this morning do not know if they're in or out of the playoffs. Week 17 coming up. The happiest place in the NFL right now is probably Buffalo, where they believe they've got an A-plus young coach and an A-plus quarterback. But if they lose as favorites to the Patriots tonight, they're miserable. That is the NFL. That's why it's so great. Kansas City's the reigning champs, and they're playing really bad football. They really are. They're winning and underachieving offensively and bad in the red zone defensively. You got Buffalo feels great if they win tonight. 5 teams can win the Super Bowl. 11 don't know if they're even in the playoffs. 9 that can maybe win a playoff game. Baltimore, the only one that I truly think this morning is really happy where they're at. In fact, I could make the argument the happiest team in the NFL this morning is the Jags. They're the worst team, but they potentially have a great future because of Trevor Lawrence. That could be the happiest team. There's no pressure on them. They're getting Trevor Lawrence. They're probably getting a new coach. The Jags are feeling right now like a little Christmas present early. But this game just offers so much intensity. It is so tough. It is so competitive. It is so intense that you're briefly happy. You can't script drama better than this. You're just briefly happy for very small moments. Here we go into week 17. And again, I think there's 5 teams that can win the Super Bowl. That's it. I don't think Tampa can. They haven't been able to beat good teams this year. They just crush bad teams. Tennessee doesn't have a pass rush. The Colts and the Steelers aren't consistent enough at quarterback. Cleveland looks like they're fun when everything lines up, but you add a little dissension, a couple injuries, take a receiver or 2 out, and they're bad. Rams, what are we going to do with Goff? Chicago, is Trubisky back? I mean, the Chicago story is the strangest of the year. Seriously, the Chicago Bears story is the strangest story of the year. It's one thing that Seattle's defense got better, but we knew Dunlap and Jamal Adams were great players. Chicago's offense is on fire, and we don't even know if Trubisky can play. Trubisky's a fascinating player. He's got a winning record. He's gotten to the playoffs. He's now maybe on the first or second hottest team in the NFL. And a month ago, we thought he was a bust, and they were going to fire the head coach, get rid of the quarterback. GM was in trouble. I don't even know what Chicago is. I have no idea what Chicago is. I'm not sure Chicago knows what Chicago is. Lamar Jackson, the criticism really baffles me. So in the last month alone, Lamar Jackson is completing 70% of his throws, 8 TDs, 2 picks, 83 rushing yards a game. They're averaging 37 points as a team. He's 4-0, 70% completion, 117 passer rating. But what's interesting about Lamar Jackson is, as a kid, I loved baseball. Baseball cards. I'd memorize stats and numbers. I can still remember some. But baseball is paralyzed by numbers. What I always liked about football, you play a game, you lose, nobody cares about the numbers. It's all about the W. Not only does Lamar Jackson have a passer rating now, and we got a lot of starts, over 100. So don't tell me he can't throw. His passer rating, you got to be able to throw to get a passer rating over 100. He's got a passer rating over 100. The weakness of this team is wide receivers. So it's not like he has a great wide receiving core. But the other thing is, 36 career starts, 17 picks, half an interception a game. So he makes almost no mistakes. That tells me he's got very good judgment. It tells me he's unbelievably coachable. And the other thing is, he is 29-4 in this league against everybody not named the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Titans last year, I think that's what the Ravens are. I think the Baltimore Ravens are the Titans of last year. They've got an identity. They're mostly about power running. They can throw the ball with touch in spots. They're playing with house money. Everybody's sold them off mid-season. I think the Ravens are a nightmare to play, and I don't get the critics of Lamar Jackson. 26-4 against everybody not named the Chiefs. Folks, this isn't baseball. Win the games. It's remarkable. Despite having one of the great franchises in league history, they want to be told how great their team is when they're not great. Yesterday didn't prove anything. You were outplayed for 60, 70% of the game. I think Big Ben must have had 9 Red Bulls at half because for the first time in months, he actually had a great couple of drives. He threw a deep ball finally. The Steelers are a slightly better, happier version than the Colts today. For most of the game, their best offensive plays were pass interference calls. Some of them I didn't think they earned. But Big Ben in the second half came out, whatever he did at half. I'm not in those locker rooms. They don't let the press into locker rooms. Whatever he took, whatever he did, for about an hour, he actually went down the field, threw the deep ball, threw it accurately. It didn't appear to be in pain, was willing to get, hit, hold the ball a little longer, and they deserve that. They still average 1.4 yards a carry. They still have multiple losses on their defense. These are the same teams. Good, not great defense, promising young players, and a very big but. The but being Big Ben and Phillip Rivers are just no longer consistent enough, young enough, healthy enough, or dynamic enough to win multiple playoff games. I don't think yesterday really solved anything. I just think whatever happened at half, Big Ben came out and said, I'm going to throw the ball deep. And he had not. He didn't in the first half. He didn't in the last month. But yeah, I kept watching this game and thinking, who would really help both these teams? Carson Wentz. That's what I kept saying. I kept thinking, once Phillip Rivers got off the first half script and you need him to ad lib, you're done. He can't do that. Big Ben actually can still do it, but just not frequently enough to eventually beat a Kansas City, a Green Bay, a Seattle, a Saints. I think if they met Baltimore again, they wouldn't win. But Mike Tomlin always has perspective, puts things into context, his thoughts on the difference between another awful first half and an energized second half.
How did a team turn it around so dramatically from one half to the second?
We missed on some opportunities in the first half. I don't know if it was that dramatic. It's a fine line between, drinking wine and squashing grapes, as we say in this business, and sometimes it's very subtle. We've all had our struggles of late, and so none of us are removed from that. This is a fighter's business. This is a competitor's business, and I expect all to compete and to smile in the face of adversity.
Hey, listen, right now, Cleveland isn't feeling good about themselves. Pittsburgh is. Baltimore really is. I still think Baltimore right now is the best team in the division. I think they beat Pittsburgh tomorrow. I think they're playing the best football. I think Baltimore is what I thought they would be. I think Baltimore's a handful. They're the best team in the division, and they may not even make the playoffs. They do control their destiny. So Pittsburgh, to me this morning, is a slightly happier version of the Colts. Promising young players, good defense, not as great as everybody thinks. That looked like two old heavyweights circling the ring. Both could take a punch. Neither could consistently land any. They're just not dynamic enough.